For 8 long years, my father-in-law has made my life an absolute living hell. He is mad that I'm the one that married his daughter, that I'm the one who had her babies. And the reason that he's so upset is because I'm a Chinese American man who works in computers and programming, and he thinks that, oh, since my hands don't have any marks on them, I don't work hard. See, he is an old school Marine, and he's very, very strict. The problem is, I'm the only one that stands up to him. My wife, she's too scared to say anything because she doesn't want to hurt his feelings. Oh, and his wife, which would be my mother-in-law, she doesn't even say a word when he says some of the most ridiculous stuff. And all this is starting to lead to a breaking point. And that's when I realize my wife is starting to hide her phone. I think she's a cheater too, and I'm about to get to the bottom of my evil father-in-law and if my wife is having an affair or not. I never thought I'd find myself in a position to be writing this, but I'm at what they call the breaking point, and need outside perspective on whether I'm crazy or if this situation is as toxic as I think it is. Sorry for the long post, but I need to get this off my chest. For background, my name is Ben, a 32-year-old Chinese-American software engineer. I moved to the good old state of Texas from California about 10 years ago for work. And honestly, I fell head over heels for the American dream. You know, the barbecue, the football games, the whole thing. My parents immigrated here when I was 5, and while they kept our Chinese traditions alive at home, I've always felt deeply American. I mean, I've been here since I was 5. Yeah, I promise this is relevant. So 9 years ago, I meet Olivia at a tech conference in Austin. She was 30, working marketing for a startup, and we had instant chemistry. She laughed at my terrible joke, loved my fusion cooking experiments. Korean barbecue tacos, anyone? And we just clicked. The first year was perfect. I'm talking fairy tale level perfect. She was sweet, supportive, and seemed to love everything about me, including my nerdy programming quirks, as she called them. Then I met her father, Pete. Pete's a 58-year-old, an ex-Marine, 6'3", pure muscle, who still does CrossFit every darn morning at 5 a.m. sharp. The first time we met, he looked me up and down like I was something stuck on his shoe. When we shook hands, he crushed mine while maintaining eye contact, you know, that alpha male dominance thing. Well, later, I overheard him tell Olivia that real men have calluses from work on their hands, not a soft little computer nerd. His wife, Sharon, bless her heart, immediately pulls me aside and says, "Don't mind Pete, he's all bark." She's always been kind to me, sneaking me cookies and asking about my family back home. But here's the thing, she never contradicts Pete publicly. Not one time in 8 years. The cultural comment started immediately. Pete would say I was one of the good ones. When talking about Asian immigrants, he'd ask if my parents were, all sorts of things. And whether I ate dogs growing up. Yeah, he actually asked that. He would even mock my accent, even though I don't have one. I grew up in Sacramento. I bit my tongue because I love Olivia. 2 years in, Olivia gets pregnant. We were thrilled and had already been talking about marriage, so we just moved up our timeline. When we told Pete, he went absolutely ballistic. Accused me of trapping his daughter, demanded a paternity test, which Olivia refused, thank goodness, and said I was stealing his little girl. Well, the man literally tried to sabotage our wedding by calling the venue and claiming it was canceled. I had to pay an extra $2,000 deposit to secure it again. He gave Olivia an ultimatum, choose between her family or that boy. Sharon cried but stayed silent. Olivia told me Pete means well, and that's just how he was raised in Alabama, and asked me to be patient. I should have seen the red flags, but I was young and I was in love. Well, our wedding day. So Pete shows up in his full dress blues, just to remind everyone what a real American hero looks like. His toast included gems like, "Despite my reservations." Oh, and one that said, "I hope you can provide for her properly, though I have my doubts." My family was mortified. Olivia said that he was just emotional about giving her away. When our son Toby was born, Pete immediately starts calling him my grandson, never your son, when talking to me. Every parenting decision was questioned, and I held Toby too much. I was making him soft, apparently. I didn't let him cry it out, because in the Marines we learned to self-soothe. I was too careful about germs. Boys need to eat dirt to be strong. 2 years later, our daughter Bree was born. Pete's first comment was, maybe this one will be tough like her grandfather. Then came the incident that should have ended everything when Pete called CPS on me. Yeah, he's been documenting every little thing. See, Toby had bruises from playing at the park. Bree cried during a visit, and I let them have ice cream for breakfast once on Toby's birthday. He compiled his list into a report, claiming I was physically abusive and neglectful. The investigation was hell. Social workers interviewed our neighbors. My work was also notified. Goodbye, promotion. And I had to take time off to deal with it. They found absolutely nothing, of course. In fact, the caseworker noted the report seemed malicious, but the damage was done. My reputation at work, it never really recovered. My neighbor still looks at me suspiciously, and Olivia. She said Pete was just concerned about the kids and refused to even consider cutting contact. That was 3 years ago. Since then, it's been a steady stream of humiliation. Every Thanksgiving, Pete teaches the kids that Grandpa is tougher than Daddy. He signed up to coach Toby's Little League team and told the other parents I was not athletic enough to do it. He gave me a gym membership for Christmas, saying maybe you can finally bulk up. He removed every photo with me from his house, but kept all the ones with just Olivia and the kids. He refers to me as the programmer or your mother's husband, never by my name. He constantly tells war stories and says you wouldn't understand, you never served. Sharon occasionally slips me $50 gift cards while whispering apologies, but she never speaks up when it matters. Last Sunday was the breaking point. Toby fell off his bike and scraped his knee. I hugged him and told him that he was brave, and Pete said in front of everyone at the family barbecue that I was raising soft children, and that men were men and boys didn't need their mommies for every boo-boo. Toby is 7. I looked at Olivia, waiting for her to say something. She was suddenly very interested in her potato salad. I'm done. I've developed anxiety attacks before every family gathering. I've been in therapy for 2 years, and I take medication to deal with the stress. My kids are starting to repeat Pete's comments about me being weak. But here's what hurts the most. Olivia has never, not once, stood up for me. Every time I bring it up, she says that I'm being too sensitive. That's just how Pete is, that I need to earn his respect, or that I'm making her choose between us. Guys, am I overreacting? Should I keep taking this for my kids? I love my wife, but I don't know how much more I can take it. My marriage feels like it's hanging by a thread, and I'm starting to resent Olivia almost as much as I despise Pete. What would you do? Update number 1, I gave my wife an ultimatum and things got worse, posted 3 weeks after the original post. Holy hell, this blew up. Thank you to everyone who responded to my original post. Reading your comments was like finally having someone turn on the lights after years of gaslighting. You gave me the courage to finally stand up for myself, so I took your advice. 3 days after my post, I sat Olivia down after the kids went to bed. I had prepared everything I wanted to say, even practiced in the mirror. I laid out 8 years of disrespect, the CPS trauma that still gives me nightmares, how I can't sleep before family events, and how I've watched her son start to disrespect me because he's copying Pete. I told her point blank, either you stand up to your father and set real boundaries, or I file divorce. I cannot and will not live like this anymore. She broke down crying and said I was being unfair, that I was making her choose, that Pete was just protective. I stayed calm and said, your dad called CPS on me with false allegations. That's not protective, that's abusive. He tried to destroy our family, for God's sake. She promised to talk to Pete, to set boundaries. She said she could not lose me or break up our family. I thought we were finally getting somewhere. She arranged a dinner at Pete and Sharon's house to address the situation. I should have known it would have been a disaster. As soon as Olivia started talking about boundaries, Pete literally laughs and said that I had, quote, put her up to this and that I was trying to isolate her from her family. Classic abuser tactic, according to him. For the first time in 8 years, I spoke directly to Pete, looked him in his eyes. I listed every incident calmly, the handshake, the CPS call, the photos, the constant undermining. I kept my voice level and didn't raise it once. Pete's face went red and he stood up and slammed his hands on the table and called me ungrateful, weak, and not a real man. He said a real man would not need his wife to fight his battle. I said, I've been more of a father than you ever were. I don't need to tear others down to feel strong. Real strength is building people up, not breaking them down. And that's when he threatened me. He says, you think you can just keep my grandkids from me? I have a right. I pulled out my phone and showed him an email from my lawyer. After the false CPS report, my lawyer says otherwise. That's considered harassment and malicious prosecution. For the first time ever, Sharon spoke up. She told Pete he was going too far. You want to know Pete's response? He said, Sharon, know your place. The look on Sharon's face broke my heart. 30 years of marriage and he talks to her like that? I stood up, took Olivia's hand and said, we're leaving. Contact us when you're ready to apologize to both of us, buckaroo. In the car, Olivia was silent for 10 minutes, and then she said, I didn't have to be so harsh. I humiliated her dad. I pulled the car over. I'm being harsh? Your father has messed with me for 8 years. He called CPS on me for crying out loud. He tells our son I'm a weak man, and you're worried about him. She starts sleeping in the guest room that night like a dog. The past 3 weeks have been hell. The kids keep asking why mommy is sad. Bree has started acting out at preschool and Toby asked if we're getting divorced like his friend's parents. Pete has been calling Olivia daily, telling her I'm controlling and abusive and that I'm isolating her from fam. Her sister Wendy calls me up and said I was right about Pete, but I have to be patient with Olivia because she's been conditioned her whole life. Guys, that's fine and dandy and everything, but here's the thing. I'm done being patient. I started working out, not for Pete, but for me. I joined a father support group and I've been seeing my therapist twice a week. And you know what? I've started giving Pete's energy right back at him tenfold, baby. See, last week at Toby's game, where Pete is still the coach, Pete made a comment about real athletes and I said, sorry, us soft programmers who make 6 figures wouldn't understand military stuff. By the way, how's that retirement pay treating you, buddy? Petty. Yes. Satisfying? Yes. Olivia's been going out more with work friends, coming home late, being protective of her phone. Last week, she changed her passcode. See, my gut just tells me something is wrong, but honestly, I'm too exhausted to care. Mother's Day was the absolute final straw on this old camel. Pete shows up uninvited, right? I tell him, okay, man, you gotta leave. He says, make me leave, tough guy. I said, okay, no problem. I called emergency. So when the cops arrived, Pete tried to tell them I was unstable and aggressive towards him. The officer saw right through it and told Pete to leave or face trespassing charges. Olivia blamed me for humiliating her father in front of the neighbors, and I've started researching divorce lawyers. I've been documenting everything, and I've opened my own bank account. I'm done. But yesterday, Olivia came home and was suddenly super nice. Made my favorite dinner, was affectionate, kept saying she loved me, and my gut is screaming that something is very wrong. I'll update if anything happens, but I think my marriage is starting to end. I just need to figure out how to protect my kids from Pete's influence when we share custody. I'll be back for an update, I promise. Final update, this one took a turn for the worse. She cheated. Father-in-law weaponized it. I'm so done. Posted 2 weeks later. I can't believe I'm here in front of this old laptop, writing this. Shaking hands, remember how I said my gut was telling me something was wrong? Jesus. I had no idea. Last Tuesday, Olivia came home crying hysterically, like the ugly crying, snot everywhere, mascara down her face, barely able to breathe. I knew immediately. Yeah, you just know, you know. Through her sobbing, she admitted she slept with someone else. She said it just happened, I was drunk. I was so confused and hurt. His name is Mark. He's an ex-Navy SEAL from her gym. He's 6'5", tattooed, the whole macho military thing. It happened after drinks with her work buddies. Turns out it was just her and her friend Wendy. This was that night 2 weeks ago when she came home smelling like cologne and claiming a coworker hugged her goodbye. She tried to justify it. You made me feel trapped between you and my father. I didn't know what to do. Mark just understands me. I was eerily calm. I said, you chose to cheat rather than stand up to your daddy. That tells me everything I need to know about who you are. She begged and pleaded, said it meant nothing, she was vulnerable. Mark took advantage. Then she let slip that she told Wendy, who was, quote, supportive and understanding, and thought I needed a wake-up call about how I was treating the family. I started recording the conversation at this point. I mean, come on. One-party consent state. 3 days later, Pete calls, saying he heard about the situation and was coming over to discuss things man-to-man, mano-y-mano. I knew something was up, so I turned on a security camera, I obviously installed after the police incident. Pete showed up with Mark. This roided-out dude stood in my living room in front of my children's photos, smirking at me. Pete said, quote, this is what a real man looks like. Maybe now you understand why Olivia strayed. Mark actually said, and I crap you not, no hard feelings, bro. She just needed something you can't give her. It happens, man. I started laughing. I mean, it wasn't like a crazy laugh, just a genuine amusement. I pulled out my phone and said, please, continue. Tell me more about how this happened. Pete, thinking he was winning the situation, starts bragging about how he introduced Mark to Olivia at the gym months ago, how he knew Mark was her type, and how he told Mark she was unhappy. Mark, this absolute genius, admitted, on camera, that Pete had suggested he, and I quote, show Olivia what she was missing, and that Pete said I was probably into guys anyway since I was so soft. I thanked them for coming, told them to get the hell out of my house, and I called me a lawyer. Here's where it gets nuclear. My lawyer arrives within an hour. Divorce papers, evidence of Pete's CPS false report. Turns out that's a felony. Recorded threats from Pete, video evidence of Pete attempting to sabotage my marriage, and proof of parental alienation. I mean, he is good. While my lawyer was explaining everything to a shocked Olivia, Sharon showed up with her own divorce lawyer. See, turns out Sharon has been planning to divorce Pete for months. She's been writing everything down, his emotional abuse, financial control, and guess what else? Pete cheated. Oh yeah. Pete cheated on her multiple times during deployments. She has emails, photos, everything. Sharon looked at Pete and said, I've been silent for 30 years, but not today. You want to know the best part? We've been seeing a child psychologist for Toby's anxiety, caused by family issues, they say. The psychologist report stated that the children showed signs of fear around Pete and preferred my parenting styles. Toby had told her, Grandpa scares me when he yells at Daddy. Olivia tried to claim I was abusive and controlling, but her own text message to Wendy proved otherwise. Messages like, Ben's been such a baby about my dad, and I wish Ben was more like Mark. Wendy, trying to help, posted on Facebook defending Olivia and saying I was emotionally abusive for not accepting Pete. So I posted the recording of Pete and Mark. It went viral on my Facebook page. Pete's Marine buddies called him out for stolen valor because apparently claiming combat experience he didn't really have is stolen valor. And conduct unbecoming. He's been banned from the VFW. The custody hearing was last week. The judge granted me primary custody with supervised visitation for Olivia. Pete is not allowed unsupervised contact with the children at all, and the CPS false report, the recording of him orchestrating the affair, and Sharon's testimony sealed it. Guys, I'm keeping the house. I mean, I did pay 70% of the mortgage anyways. Olivia's moving back with her parents, and oh wait, just her mom, I should say, since Sharon is taking Pete for everything in the divorce. I mean, she's taking him to the cleaners. Pete tried to confront me at my office yesterday. Security removed him, and now I have a restraining order. Mark, he ghosted Olivia immediately after being served as a witness. Turns out he's married. His wife is also divorcing him, and the kids are doing amazing. See, Toby said, I like it better when it's just us, Dad. You don't seem scared anymore. You know, the worst part about this is it broke me. Bree has stopped having tantrums entirely, too. Sharon has been incredible. She testified on my behalf, saying Pete had controlled and abused her for 30 years. And she didn't want her grandchildren growing up thinking that was normal. She's in therapy now, of course, and seems happier than I've ever seen her. My company, which has been cold since the CPS investigation, well, they gave me a promotion and a raise. Turns out my boss had gone through something similar and understands once he knew the truth. To anybody dealing with toxic in-laws, please, I don't know how I have to tell you this, don't ignore the red flags. Stand your ground, don't let anyone make you feel less than you are. Your kids are watching and learning what they should accept in life. See, kids absorb everything like a sponge, so if you just do something in front of them over and over, they absorb it and think it's normal. My only regret is not leaving sooner. See, Pete destroyed his own family trying to destroy mine. The man who preached about loyalty and strength turned out to be a cheating, lying sack of crap. A bully who destroyed his daughter's marriage because his ego could not handle that she loved a soft Chinese American programmer who makes $200,000 a year, baby. I'm teaching my kids that real strength is standing up for yourself, protecting those you love, and knowing when to walk away. It's reading bedtime stories and kissing boo-boos and crying at Pixar movies. Yeah, it only happened once, okay? We're finally free. Oh, and Olivia, she texted me yesterday, saying she made a mistake and wants to work things out. I didn't respond. My lawyer did. Edit. Since everyone's asking, yes, I am in therapy. Stop telling me that. Yes, the kids are there too. No, I'm not dating anyone. And yes, Mark's wife reached out to me. We're both supporting each other through the divorce. And yes, I still make the most amazing fire Korean barbecue tacos, and they're delicious. Alright guys, I do think today's story was a very interesting one, and I'm just glad OP got out of that toxic situation, but hey, as always, I have two comments which are the opposite of opinions from each other. So let's take a second and review the very first comment. It says, honestly, OP sounds like he could not handle having a strong male figure in his life who called him out on his crap. Pete was a Marine who served his country while OP sits at the desk all day making applications for a phone or whatever he said he does. Maybe if OP had actually made an effort to bond with Pete instead of being so sensitive about everything, none of this would have happened. The guy was just looking out for his daughter and his grandbabies. And yeah, maybe the CPS thing was too far, but OP probably was being neglectful if Pete felt the need to call. You don't just call CPS for no reason. There's always smoke or there's fire. OP admits that he gave his kids ice cream for breakfast. Who does that? I mean, come on. And now he's keeping a grandfather from his grandkids over some hurt feelings and bragging about winning while destroying a whole family. Pete fought for this country, and this is how he gets treated by some soft programmer who probably couldn't even do a single pull-up. The wife clearly needed a real man's attention if she went to Mark. That doesn't happen in healthy marriages where the husband is doing his job. OP pushed his wife into another man's arm by creating all this drama and refusing to respect her father. Now those kids have no grandfather, no intact family, and a father who's teaching them to run away from conflict instead of manning up and taking the responsibility. Guys, that was comment 1. I have to know your thoughts and feelings about that comment, because honestly, I don't agree with that one. But here's comment 2. It says, are you absolutely insane defending Pete? The man called CPS with a false allegation that could have destroyed OP's career and taken his kids away. That's not protection. That's weaponized abuse of the system. Pete literally arranged for his daughter to cheat by introducing her to Mark and telling him to, well, show her what she's missing. What father does that to his own daughter? I mean, it's weird. It's gross. This isn't about soft or strong. It's about basic human decency and respect. Which Pete showed none of for 8 years straight. OP tried everything, staying quiet, being patient, even going to therapy to deal with the anxiety that Pete caused. But enough is enough. The fact that Pete's own wife Sharon divorced him and testified against him tells you everything you need to know about what kind of monster he really was. He crushed OP's hand at their first meeting, tried to sabotage their wedding, removed him from the family photos, and spent 8 years psychologically breaking him down. Being a programmer? Since when is that such a bad thing? He makes a lot of money, apparently, and loving his daughter. OP documented everything legally, went through every proper channel, and the judge even agreed Pete was dangerous enough to require supervised visitation only. Military service does not give you the free pass to be an abusive piece of garbage to your family. These kids literally told a psychologist they were afraid of Pete. But yeah, sure, OP's the bad guy for protecting them from a narcissistic bully who destroyed his own family with his toxic masculinity crap. OP showed more strength standing up to 8 years of abuse than Pete ever did hiding behind his uniform while emotionally terrorizing every single person around him. So guys, which comment makes the most sense here? Comment number 1 or comment number 2? Let's talk about it. Drop it down below in the comment section. And as always, if you guys enjoyed the channel, if you enjoyed the story, or maybe you just enjoy the comment section, let me know which one, and don't forget to subscribe. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Have a great day. And of course, remember, it's cool to be kind. Peace.